Mathematics, for most of us, means numbers, arithmetic, maybe a little geometry. But that's like going to see a band and only being able to hear the metronome track.
Quite a bit of math during university. I did a plant biology degree, and it involved a lot of biostatistics and calculus and stuff like that. I always enjoyed the classes a lot. I enjoyed the concepts.
I didn't overly like math. I was going through some issues with discipline and all that stuff, so I got through it for the most part.
My history with math hasn't been a very nice one. It's been a fairly bumpy road.
Definitely think that math as a science or math as a language and music as a language have a lot of similarities. The way that they're applied and the way that the feedback that individuals get from both music and math.
The equations to our songs are fairly simple, 4/4s and whatnot. Like the Ramones, they're 4/4 until they're dead, and some of them are dead. But I mean, it was down to a T. Like they have that 4/4 that nobody else does. Like there's a lot of punk bands out there, but there's the Ramones. So every song started off 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's that.
While I was doing my undergrad, one of my roommates was doing his master's in mathematics, and it's funny how he could just take sheets and sheets of paper and just crunch a bunch of numbers. And he essentially was talking to himself in the sense that he was just repeating a bunch of sequences, blah, 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 and then he'd end up with a final variable or a final equation. And music's a little bit of the same way. You could just be crunching out a bunch of notes, playing riff A to riff B to this chorus, and all of a sudden you end up with a formula, which is the formula of your song. My understanding when it comes to numbers and sound and music, is thinking of sound physically, the physical properties of sound. Those concepts seem to make more sense to me than something like a time signature. And I think it's just because a lot of the bio degree that I did involved studying light, because I was studying botany, right? So everything had to do with photosynthesis, and everything that has to do with photosynthesis is wavelengths, and so sound is a wavelength, and it just seems to fit in that little area of my brain quite well.
The name, plus or minus standard deviation, everybody that I talk to says, man, that's a long band name. And I've never really had anybody ask me what it means. And I hope to God they don't very often, because it's hard for me to look at what it really is and relate to it.
The fact that we call our band Plus or Minus it's a little ironic, but I equate it to two things. One is sometimes we're on, sometimes we're not, and that's sometimes we're just terrible, and sometimes we're pretty awesome. And the other thing is we don't stick with the same kind of music. We're fairly all over the place.
There's two things that I like doing, right? I love playing music, and I love doing science. I like acquiring numbers and crunching numbers, and I like playing music.